Hey, everybody. Just kicking back in my robe here, like Yacht Possum's t-shirt. I hope you're all well. And Coyle is just here for the possum water. J-Rod says Christopher Harris. King George says how to get over Cam Newton flopping on Thursday Night Football. How's everybody doing? How are you? Good to see you. Here's cheers to you. Cheers to you. That ain't possum water vodka. How's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. We have 63 of my closest friends here in the first minute. I'm glad to see you all. I'm happy to talk to you through your fantasy playoffs and or whatever else you want to talk about. Just hang out for a little while. I hope you're having an adult beverage of your own because it's that kind of night. I've had a long day. It's fun, but long. I mean, how bad could the job be, right? You're a yacht possum. When you're a yacht possum for life, I mean, you're a yacht possum. And many of the people watching this who don't listen to the podcast, who only go to the YouTube channel, are like, what's a yacht possum? It's a long story. Thanks for being here. It should be pretty fun. I'm wearing this robe because Gravity Blankets is sponsoring, and this is their Gravity robe. It's got weights in the collar, so it's like hitting pressure points right here, and it is heavy and it feels nice. And I recommend it. And the whole idea behind Gravity is like the pressure points and stuff. I have a Gravity blanket I'll show you in a little while, but good gift. If you're thinking about a gift for somebody who's got like sleeping problems, think about Gravity. We'll talk about that later. So thanks for coming, and I'll do my best. I mean, we'll probably get, I don't know how many people we'll get on a Friday night during quarantine. Might get a bunch, might not get that many. Never a good predictor. I'm not a good predictor of what might or might not happen as far as that goes, but I'll get to as many questions as I can. If you're going to ask me a single position question, like should I start this receiver or that receiver? To be honest, I don't have my own ranks memorized. I don't really know, but I do have a page where I put a lot of thought into it and wrote them down. So if you go to harrisfootball.com, you'll see wide receiver ranks on there or running back ranks or whatever. A lot of times, even with flex ranks, I don't really know, but I'll do my best. I'll talk through guys for you. Should be fun. So like, for example, Manny says Antonio Brown or T.Y. Hilton. I'm trying to remember, like, just remember what I had in the ranks. And I think I have Hilton higher, but I would go, they've got to be pretty close. So I would go to Harris Football and check the wide receiver ranks because you'll get my real answer there. So let's see. Eugene says, thoughts on starting Giovanni Bernard? I mean, I don't hate it. I would normally hate it, but man, I just watched the Cowboys get utterly destroyed on the ground. And I know Baltimore has a better running game than Cincinnati does, but I just don't know if I trust Dallas to stop anybody on the ground right now. It's not like I'm going to race to use Giovanni Bernard. I'm not using him over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You know, I'm not using him, but as a flex, he's been disastrous. He's been bad, right? But he's not a bad player himself. He's in a bad situation. I don't hate it. I'm going to guess if you went and looked at Harris Football, I'm going to guess I have him like 32 or something among running backs. Not great, but like normally he'd be 50. So yeah. Tyler says, are these Felix Grays? They are. They're Felix Grays. Every time I'm on the computer for an extended period of time, I am wearing the Felix. Not even sponsoring. Tyler just knows me. Rhett Miller is here. Should I even say that? Should I blow your cover? A very famous musician is in this crew. Hi Rhett. Steve says he ordered a Yacht Possum t-shirt in dark gray. This is the one in light gray. You can get them at harrisfootball.com if you're interested. King George says maybe enough gravity blankets will help me get over Cam Newton. I mean, I think if you have just one gravity blanket, you'll be able to sleep. That's my opinion. It's my prediction. You don't need more than one. Dan says, do you ever do playoff fantasy football? So like during January, you mean? Like, no, I don't think I'm usually ready to take a nap by then, to be honest. I'm getting away as much as I can. I do the podcast once a week. The YouTube channel slows down a little bit too, you know, so I'll do DFS. I'll do DraftKings during the playoffs. That's fun, but I don't usually like draft. I've done it in the past. I've definitely, when I was at ESPN, I've done it in the past where you do a draft and you're sort of drafting partly on who's good, but also partly who's on the teams that you think are going to last. It's fun, but I usually don't because I need a rest. Alex says, how am I doing in my leagues? So La Liga Lebowski is one I talk about on the podcast a lot, and that one I did not make the playoffs. Large is another one I talk about. I won my first playoff game in Large, but I wouldn't say I have an okay team. I wouldn't say I'm a favorite. And then like Fishbowl, I'm in the playoffs. I'm probably going to be in the second round of the playoffs. CBS, I think I'm in the playoffs. The Flex League of Experts, I'm in the playoffs. There's a few that I'm not. I mean, injuries were on everybody were so rough, but mostly I'm alive. I would say I have the closest to a juggernaut team that I have, I think, is the Fishbowl. Like that's a good team that I drafted July 1st, not knowing anything. So in other words, the one that I was most random and that I actually had the least to do with is the one I'm doing the best in. So there you go. Sebastian, Calvin Ridley over Gio is obvious, right? Right? Yeah, I think so. We're not going to get Julio on Sunday. I would be starting. I mean, anything can happen, but that's not a flex one where I'm going to give you, I'm not sure. I would be using Ridley. Leonard says, thoughts on Ty Johnson with Frank Gore back? I haven't put Gore back in my ranks at harrisfootball.com yet. I'd like to just get one more. I mean, I know they're talking about it. He's listed as questionable. I'd like to get like one more Schefter report that says, hey, he's good. He's good to go. Assuming that this is real and assuming that he's back, I think Ty Johnson's not usable. I'll take him out of my DraftKings lineup. Like I don't know if you use Gore, but I don't know that you can use Ty Johnson if the Jets were smart. ... If the Jets were smart, they'd sit Frank Gore and let a kid play and see if he's got a future with the team. But who knows? Maybe they've already decided Ty Johnson doesn't have a future with the team, and they certainly weren't willing to give him the job when Gore was healthy. So I don't think I could use him, to be honest. If Gore's back, I don't think I could use him. MJ Rod 13 says, do your defensive rankings include special teams? If not, I need to quit looking at those. Well, here's the thing about that. If you're a genius at predicting who's going to have a big punt return or who's going to have a blocked kick for a return or something, man, you're better at this than I am. Holy moly, you should take my job if you're going to, it's the point being it's not really predictable. So special teams points, I can't tell you who's going to block a punt. I couldn't tell you that the Patriots were going to block a punt last week and score a touchdown and then have a punt return for a touchdown too. Like they didn't yesterday. So does that mean they always do it or never do it? It's just tough. So mostly anybody who's doing defense ranks doesn't include what, kicks are going to get blocked or what returns are going to be made on kickoff returns. Cause it's the definition of random. We just don't know. So there you go. Tulio has a running back question. It's Devin Singletary or Jamal Williams, y'all. And again, it's a running back question, so I'll do my best to remember what my ranks were, but I would go to harrisfootball.com, honestly. I spend a lot of time doing the spreadsheet that goes into the ranks on the website. It knows more about what my feeling was at the moment when I was really thinking about it as opposed to doing 1,000 things during a live stream. My guess is that I have Williams higher, but it's probably very close, but take a look. Carlos says, flex PPR. DJ Chark or Kiki Cutie, probably favoring upside as I have a lower projection. I mean, so first of all, it's not really a flex, right? They're both wide receivers. I would play Chark. I just think he's a way better player, and and plus he has more upside. Last week notwithstanding, I think different people's have different answers for this question, but like for myself, if I know one of my guys is just a way better player with a way longer history with more football ability than the other one, and I use that one and the other guy goes off and my guy does squat, I mean, I'm mad, but I'm not nearly as mad as if I like play it cute and then switch it around and go QT, haha, and then DJ Chark scores 3 touchdowns. That makes me real mad. So for myself, that's the way I would lean. Dave says, hey Chris, you're 2 days early, except for I'll still do the one on Sunday. This one's for the public though. We have 161 people watching right now. Plus, I don't drink on the Sunday morning one. The question was, is cousin Josh's new nickname Mini Metcalf? He wishes. I think, didn't he actually accidentally say that Metcalf is a mini him, which was pretty funny considering he would fit in like one pant leg of DK Metcalf. The waitlist says, love the Kirk Cousins mixtape. It was very funny. I agree. Let's see. What do we got? Jason says, it's a non-playoff question. Hey, I'll take those two. I'm robed. I'm ready to go. I'm here. I'll take it. Who do I hate less as a dynasty stash? Benny Snell or Rashad Penny? That would be Rashad Penny. I don't think Benny Snell has a big future in the league. I'm wrong about these things sometimes, but having watched all of their snaps that they've taken in their lives, of course, I have no idea what Penny is with a torn ACL coming back, but he's had quite a bit more speed and excitement to his game than Benny Snell, who is going to be a plugger. The most he's ever going to be is a plugger, right? So I would vastly prefer Penny, I think, in a dynasty. Let's see. What do we got? Alex has a good question, and I have to think about it on the fly, but it's a good question. Alex Varner, who is my Super Bowl pick right now? Right now, this moment, who's my Super Bowl pick? I mean, it's Chiefs, but the NFC is hard. And the Chiefs aren't impenetrably impossible to beat. Like, I think they could be beaten, but they're a prohibitive favorite. Boy, I mean, I think it's between Saints and Packers for me. And it's like, I certainly trust the Saints defense a lot more. But I think I probably trust the Packer offense more. And okay, I'm gonna hold the feet to the fire. It's Kansas City. It's against. I'm gonna say New Orleans. I'm gonna say Kansas City, New Orleans. But I don't feel awesome about the offense when it runs into somebody real. I would like to see Breeze back and being Breeze. It's a good question though. MJ Rod says, "What am I imbibing on?" This is an old fashioned, and so it tastes good, sweet. I hope you're all enjoying, whether it's alcoholic or not, a lovely beverage. Derek says, a flex PPR, Miles Sanders against the tough Saints defense with Jalen Hurts playing quarterback, by the way, or roll with Sterling Shepard or T.Y. Hilton. I think I have Hilton ahead of Shepard, but check the receiver ranks. But if I'm going to compare, they're close. But check them at harrisfootball.com. I'm going to say that if I'm comparing Sanders to a wide receiver 3, I'm going to say Sanders, but I understand why you're asking the question, because you don't want to do it, right? You're worried about all that could go wrong and all that has gone wrong. I don't know if you read it, but like, he's excited about maybe running some option with Jalen Hurts. So how's he not scoring 8 touchdowns? That story was meaningful. I'll say that I use Sanders, but I don't begrudge you if you don't want to do it, if that makes sense. Like, Sanders, big play player, he can still make a big play. It's the worst matchup you can have, I think, right now for a running back. It's terrible, but I don't know which of those receivers goes off. I mean, Hilton's likelier to go off than Shepard, probably, just because he'll go down the field a little bit. I don't think it's a no-brainer, but that's what I got. So far, we have 187 people in here and 30 likes. I mean, what's up with that? That just seems wrong. It seems like right now, my saying that in my robe, in my gravity blankets robe, I should be able to get another, we should be able to get to 100 likes. I would think pretty quickly. We got 186 people watching. We're at 53 already. It just feels like that's doable. 58. Feels like it's doable. I don't know. It just seems... It seems like my glasses are really dirty. That's what it seems like. The gravity blanket also great. The gravity robe is great for cleaning your glasses. Fantastic. We're at 67 likes. That's disappointing. We haven't gotten to 100. We're at 77. That's better. That is better. I'll keep going. As soon as we get to 100, boom. As soon as we get to 100, I mean, it should be simple. We have 183 people, 185 people watching right now. We're at 81 likes. I think if you're on your phone, I think you have to close the chat and the like button pops up. 89. I love it. 93. We are close. We are really close. 98. So close. And we've done it. We're over 100. Let's keep going. Thank you. Smash that like button. That's right. Cesar says, let's go. Ursins says, I bought some Felix Grays for the girlfriend for Christmas. Thank you. That's awesome. They're great. These are prescription. Can you tell? Can you tell the prescription? Oh yeah, look at that. That was freaky. Not everybody does that on YouTube. Let's see. Milton says, I have to drop one in a point per reception. Do I drop Mostert, Mike Davis, Kenny Golladay, or Brandon Ayuk? So it's tough to say because obviously it depends on what else you have, because you're either dropping depth at running back or depth at wide receiver. But if you're feeling equally comfortable at each of them, I mean, I think it's probably Golladay, but I would be a little worried that he'd come back and haunt me. But if I had to, there's no way you can use them this week. I don't think there's only a couple weeks left when you could use them if you had to. Aaron says, but Harris, I smashed the like button last week. It's broken now. See that? See what we did? We broke things. Flash Rider says, do you see Dobbins breaking out down the stretch? Is there football logic to leaning on a talented back versus sticking with a running back by committee? So, I made the Cam Akers call, and that seems like it's working out. And I certainly think that Dobbins is a better player than Akers. We didn't get to see any sort of, the difference between them now is that now we've seen a game where Cam Akers gets 50 snaps and the other two guys get 6, and everyone can be like, okay, cool. It's real. Now he's a low-level RB1, high-level RB2. We're good to go. Whereas with Dobbins, we just got to see them and him coming off of COVID, and it was a 3-way split entirely. And let's face it, if we're honest with ourselves, as much as we're glad he scored a touchdown, it was fake, right? It was at the end. Didn't count. I mean, it counted, but... So, I mean, I'll tell you that I definitely value Dobbins way more than either of those other Ravens running backs, and basically would consider the other Ravens running backs borderline unstartable. Edwards may be a little more startable than Ingram. But if you look at the ranks at harrisfootball.com right now, I have Dobbins quite a bit. Excuse me, that tastes like old-fashioned. Quite a bit higher in the ranks, and so it is a little bit aspirational, but I think he's the best running back they have, so I want to see that happen, and I don't mind stretching just a little bit in my lineup, but, obviously it's going to take a look at the ranks because it's going to depend on what else you have. Nilla Thrilla says, isn't he sturdy? I hope he's back, Josh Jacobs, this week. That would be lovely. I got him in a couple of places. He would help. He would for sure help. Let's see. Nick says, do you see yourself pushing certain tiny-boned running backs outside of the first round next year? I love it, Nick. It's a very clever question, as I have another drink of beverage. So I did the top 12 for 2021 with Cousin Josh on the podcast today. We each counted down from 12 to 1. And I don't want to spoil too much because we're also going to have videos coming out on the YouTube channel where we do the same thing, show you film, count it down. But Christian McCaffrey is going to be in the top 12. He is going to be in the top 12. The real drama is, where do I get him otherwise? And he's pretty high. I don't have him 1. It's arguable that he should be 1, right? If he makes it through a season healthy, he's got the unbelievable upside to be the 1. I don't think he'll be there for me almost under any circumstance. I don't think he'd be there for me, but he's going to make the list for sure. But I love the question. Let's see. EMJ says Justin Jefferson or DeAndre Hopkins. So that's a nice problem to have because those are two really good receivers. I don't think there's really a wrong answer there. If I'm gonna guess what my ranks are, and then I want you to go to harrisfootball.com and actually look at what my ranks are, because I sit there with a spreadsheet for 3 hours on Tuesday, and I crunch numbers and I look at it and I think and that's when now I'm trying to remember what I did 3 days ago. I think I had Hopkins higher with Thielen back, but take a look because it's close. Take a look at the ranks. Kyle says, hey, I live in Buffalo, so I get to watch a lot of the Bills. I love Singletary, but one thing I've noticed, he sometimes has this slight hesitation as he catches the ball. Thanks for doing this. Maybe that's right. I mean, I think, to some degree, like one person's patience is another person's hesitation, and maybe he perceives it as letting traffic sort of develop around him or whatever. I think he hits it hard when he has to. I mean, let's face it, his game is not going to be Derrick Henry's game, right? His game is going to be, I have to avoid people for the most, or at least turning direct contact into indirect contact that he can withstand, because he does have really good balance, improbably good balance for someone who's smaller, but he's not going to run over anybody. And if some 250-pound linebacker gets a direct hit on him, forget it, right? So maybe to some degree, what we perceive as him not quite hitting it hard or being hesitant, as you put it, could be him assessing microscopically in a split second to try to figure out how to take the least amount of contact possible. It's a harder road. I think, someone who's really, really good, like I think Devin Singletary is actually good, or let's call it Edwards-Helaire. I think they're almost the same player. Just one of them plays for Kansas City, one of them plays for Buffalo. Like, there's a limit, I think, to how good that a player that size can usually be. And McCaffrey is that size, and he eclipses that limit. Although the fact that he eclipses that limit with the workload that he's had maybe is part of why he's hurt and we can't use him this year. But it breaks the rules a little bit. I think those other guys don't. And to some degree, they need a good situation, and they need a good offensive line, and they need an offense that's willing to commit to them and stuff. And even then, it's like, aren't they RB2s? Don't they need to be paired with somebody? Probably. Like, that's kind of the way I view it, and did view it with Singletary as well. Moss's presence really wasn't enough, or even him playing wasn't enough to put me off of Singletary this summer. I mean, what's put me off of him now, even though these last 2 weeks he's been good, but what's put me off of him now is they just don't run, and their offensive line doesn't create any room, except for these last 2 weeks. Finally, he starts to look good again. Good question. Thank you. Steve says, are the maraschinos in the robe pocket for the Manhattan? I mean, it's not a Manhattan. It is an old fashioned, but it also could have maraschinos. Where did I leave the maraschinos? By the way, Steve Barry, toasting you. Good mixtape on today's show, by the way. Plus, I think 2 days ago, you inspired or helped shepherd along another mixtape. Well done, Steve Barry. Good job. Very nice. Yud says, is Gio good at football? I think he's good at football in the way James White is good at football, in the way that Myles Gaskin is good at football, in the way that Savon Ahmed is good at football. Fine. Yeah, I think Gio is fine. I mean, right now he finds himself in just a totally disastrous situation. The only thing holding that together was Joe Burrow, because not a good offensive line, right? So having the threat of Burrow with a couple of good receivers was holding everything together and giving Bernard like a little bit of room, and that's gone. So it's tough. I mean, we said it right early off. Like, the way to get excited about Gio is just to think about who he's playing this week, because the Cowboys are so bad on run defense, but it's like the movable force meeting the totally resistible object. I don't know which one's going to happen, but it's defensible to use Gio as a flex this week. It definitely is. I should put in a word for the sponsor. Oh, it's heavy. This is my gravity blanket. Oh, gravity blanket. It's sateen. It's lovely. It's smooth. I've taken naps with this thing, and it's heavy. It's not like crazy heavy, but I'm very weak. But the idea behind Gravity Blanket, you go to gravityblankets.com. You can find out about it. If you have a relative or if yourself has insomnia, it actually really works. So does the robe. The robe is from them too. It has weights. There are beanbag things in the collar right here. It's heavy. But the idea is pressure points. And they've done sleep lab studies. It's the only weighted blanket that actually has scientifically proven to help people fall asleep and stay asleep. It's pretty cool. It's kick-ass, and they actually have science behind it. And I think, what do they say? Like 86% of the people who've bought it would recommend it to someone else who has sleeping problems. So if you do, or if you have a loved one that you're thinking about giving a gift to, I can recommend it. I've taken naps with it. I really like the robe. Pressure point right here relaxes you. I was texting with one of the account managers on this account that for Gravity Blankets, and he was like, I took a picture of myself doing this, like about to do this thing. And he goes, do you feel relaxed? Do you feel mellow? And I was like, well, the old fashioned helps, but yeah, the robe too. But gravityblankets.com, we get 25% off, 25% off if you use Harris Tube as a promo code. And then also right below in the live stream right now, there's a link if you're interested in going right now. But I would advise it. I would recommend it. All right, let's put this down without having wires fly everywhere. All right. Justin says, how do you feel about Justin Gage this week? I'm starting Amari Cooper and DK this week as well. So obviously the reason that we are interested at all in Gage, and to this point, even though I did take Julio out of my receiver ranks and I hiked Ridley up a little bit, I thought about it, but I couldn't get my way to put Gage into the top 50 among receivers. But it's arguable that I'm wrong and that he should be in the 40 to 50 range. That's fine. I think too much higher than that is a tough ask. Even, Zacchaeus also out. He's on IR, but they just have other guys. And there are times for sure where Gage looks like, man, is he the 2? Is he the second option there? That's awesome, right? And then there are games where he's playing and it's not just Zacchaeus, it's 3 other little dudes, and he just gets ignored. So I would say Gage is usable in a pinch, but if I don't want to work to get him in my lineup. I feel like that's not the hill I want to die on, as we say on the show. Nate Bauer, how long have I known you, Nate Bauer? You can write in how long we've known each other. Is it 15 years, more, something like that? 15 years. Nate Bauer has a very apt comment, which was, if I buy a gravity blanket, can I pretend it's you hugging me? Absolutely. I would love that, Nate. I think that would be great. Nate Bauer. Let's see. Doug has a question that's pretty specific, but I still like the question. Doug Henshaw, in my first year in a La Liga clone league, any general advice that you can give? Don't go crazy worrying too much about future seasons, because it's not fantasy baseball. As much as we want it to make sense for the future, if you've got a chance to, right now we're in the playoffs, right? But if you've got a chance to compete in general, compete and make trades for now, because as much as we think, gathering young talent is going to be the solution. Boy, from year to year, stuff changes so much and so many guys get hurt that it's really tough to count your chickens. I think dynasty football in general, dynasty fantasy football in general, I think people just discount this season way too much. So many times I've been a guest on dynasty podcasts and they're great. Dynasty people who cover dynasty as a topic by itself are that's a niche product, right? They're doing great work. I'm glad they exist, and I'm glad to be a guest on their shows anytime they want. But inevitably I get the question, like, you ranked Tom Brady. This is like a few years ago. Like, you ranked Larry Fitzgerald like 6 or 7 years ago. People were yelling at me for ranking Larry Fitzgerald. It's like, yeah, if I think someone's good now, I'm not going to say I don't want him in dynasty, because there's always players to find. James Robinson comes around, So my number one for dynasty, for La Liga, for anything would be, my number one is don't stress too much about the future. Things change a lot. Nate Bauer knows, because Nate Bauer has a very good team in La Liga this year. Andy says, why do you hate dog sausage so? Ryan Tannehill, for all those who don't know. Isn't he just good, especially over Kyler Murray? So it's obviously, I don't think you were making that argument a month ago. I'm pretty sure you weren't coming on one of these live streams and going, you dummy, Ryan Tannehill's so much better than Kyler Murray. But I take your point, because if Kyler Murray isn't running, is he a good enough thrower to be a fantasy starter? Is he good? And I, of course, I can't see the future. I don't know. If it were me, I would still probably use Murray. Ryan Tannehill's entire raison d'etre, as they say, is to throw as little as possible, as few attempts as possible. The optimal Titans game plan is to have, it's the Jared Goff game plan. Same thing. Like, throw it 18 times. We're thrilled. I think that is an indication, when your team is afraid of you, that you're not that great. That essentially you're asking a fantasy question, and that's much fairer than an NFL type question, because in the NFL, all he is good for really is play action. And that's a giant red flag, that when mostly an offense has to be play action, or the quarterback doesn't work, it's a red flag that they're maybe not that good of a quarterback. But that's not what you're asking. You're asking for fantasy. And for fantasy, he's been okay, right? And Jacksonville's a pretty good matchup. But I myself, if I'm imagining two futures for myself, one in which I play Kyler Murray and lose and Ryan Tannehill went crazy, and one where I played Ryan Tannehill and lose and Kyler Murray went crazy, I don't want to have left Kyler Murray on my bench and have, but you might feel differently. I think that comes down to just like individual preference. Maybe you're to the point with Murray where you're willing to just, I don't want to deal, and I'm going to use Tannehill, and that's okay. For myself, if Murray goes out and runs for 3 touchdowns against the Giants on Sunday and he's on my bench, which of course I don't know if he's going to do, but if he does, I'm going to hate myself quite a bit. Let's see. Nick says, 0 RB enthusiasts are feeling very vindicated this year. What's your primary response to explain this year's running back minefield? Well, everybody got hurt. And I don't know. Are they? 0 RB people are really excited with themselves because they drafted Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Kenny Golladay, Cortland Sutton, Odell Beckham. What? I mean, that's not you saying that, Nick. That's them saying that. But I am highly, highly skeptical that the problem is that injuries hit both positions. Injuries really hit everywhere. I don't think 0 RB was vindicated at all. And next year we're going to see it. We're going to see a lot of running backs go in the first 2 rounds. I think the exact opposite was proven this year. I mean, if everybody gets hurt, everybody's hurt. Great. I mean, then it's kind of random, which the season has been kind of random. It would have been one thing if the first round receivers had been good, but like Michael Thomas is over there waving going, dude, I ruined 1 million people's seasons. So I don't think 0 RB was vindicated at all. Let's see. John says, if with Daniel Jones back, is Sterling Shepard a safe play? I don't think he's safe because it's still Daniel Jones and Daniel Jones can be really bad, but he's safer. I mean, he's certainly he gets more floor and more ceiling with a more competent. I mean, Daniel Jones is more competent than Colt McCoy, but let's not say that, Eli Manning has come back. Prime Eli Manning has come back, right? That's not what Daniel Jones is right now, but a little safer. I hiked him up a little bit. I originally put up the ranks and I had Colt McCoy because I thought, I wasn't positive that Jones was going to play. And then when it became clearer, I guess he's still questionable, but I think he's going to play, that Jones was in. I bumped Shepard up a little bit. I didn't have Slayton ranked and I bumped him into the top 50. So, I mean, a little bit. Brandon says, what is your confidence level in Swift if he plays this week, assuming no Jay Glazer or Adam Schefter reports about his workload? Not amazing, but I mean, I'm going to have to make a decision on him. I'm going to have to decide I can do either 2 or 3 of these 4 running backs in a playoff game. James Robinson's in, right? So James Robinson, we have no questions about. And the other 3 that I can either start 1 or 2 are going to be Zeke, JD McKissick, and Swift. It's tough. I don't know. Like, I think it's going to be Zeke, but it's because not PPR, it's standard. But I think Swift belongs in that conversation, and he has lots of upside. But unfortunately, they don't tell me the workload beforehand. I wish they did. That would be my job would be so much easier if they just told me the workload beforehand. It felt like the most recent time Swift played, which was the game before Thanksgiving. I think you probably know this, but that's the one where he was the third one in. They started Peterson. Carry-on came on next, but then they put in Swift. He had a couple of good runs, and they decided to stick with him. And so the assumption was for Thanksgiving, cool, he's the man now, and he didn't play. And last week he didn't play, so we're all just reading the cave walls. We don't know. We're all. Hey, that was a Plato reference. Anyone? Plato? I don't know any better than you do, but he has a terrible floor because we might get the mess around, or he's got a really good ceiling, and maybe it just depends on what you want to indulge. It's tough. I mean, I'm gonna have to come up with the same question, same answer to the question. All right, so 228 people watching. My 228 best friends in the world are watching right now. Love you, mean it. Except we only have 142 likes. That just seems like not enough likes. Could we get like 180 likes? 180. We're at 153 right now. And if you're watching on mobile, all you have to do is close your chat, and then you'll see the like button, and you hit it, and then you open the chat. It's still there. I'm still here. We're at 176 already. This is unbelievable. 180s easily. I should have said a higher number. 184. We did it. The wait list good band, says, have teams figured out Justin Herbert? How risky a start is he? I don't think they've necessarily figured him out. I mean, I'll say what they've figured out to some degree is that offensive line is so bad and you have to throw pressure, and it's the guards in the center that you really the most, like right up the middle. Throw pressure there. That is creating problems. There's no question. It created problems last week. Holy moly. Like I don't think Justin Herbert underperforming last week was related to some exotic scheme that Bill Belichick had. It was pretty vanilla. It was a lot of man coverage on Keenan Allen, and it was a lot of zone coverage on everybody else. And that was kind of it. And Herbert just had no time and to be fair, did not react well with pressure, had some problems reacting to pressure. That's no question. Atlanta has had a better defense and they've been getting pressure with 4. So there's some risk there. It maybe depends on what else you have, but I don't hate using him. I think we can now I've been fighting the notion that Justin Herbert was going to be a top 5 quarterback next year, that a lot of people were mad that I said that was not the case on the YouTube channel earlier. And now I feel like, okay, well, we've gotten some realism, but I think he belongs in the top 10, probably top 12 still. I love this comment and I lost it. Nick says he's following up on this is so great. I wish Denny Carter were watching. I'm sure he's not. Nick says, following up on the 0 RB. I saw a meme from Denny Carter proclaiming victory on 0 RB using having Ty Johnson over Miles Sanders as Exhibit A. I like Denny, but I thought it was odd. I love Denny. Denny's my friend, but he definitely believes it. He definitely believes it. He's also doing a bit. It can be both, right? He's doing a little bit, but also he believes it. It's great. It's a great notion, except for who picked up Ty Johnson. You could use Ty Johnson last week. So it doesn't seem like the example that proves it, but Denny's awesome. No question. I love Denny. I believe me, I want Denny on the show. It's just that his Roto World schedule has been crushing him and he hasn't been able to. I had him on a Wednesday, but that was hard to get him on. And then Tuesday's his normal day and he just can't right now. Hopefully next year. That would be great. Let me have a sip. Paul says, is Santa bringing me a PS5? Paul, I have a PS4 and I didn't until the end of the world. So I'm good. I got my PS4 like May. So I haven't had that long. I'm fine. I don't think Santa's going to do that. Sebastian says, you've ever heard of this guy Plato? Sebastian, you're funny. Steve says, is Josh the platonic ideal of DK? Yeah. Sean says, I wanted to let you know that your work is appreciated. Thank you very much, Sean. That's very nice of you to say. James says, I hit that like button on arrival, baby. The waitlist says, already smashed. Smash the like button. I'm not smashed on one drink. Come on. And plus, I'm pretty sure you're the drummer, so you have extra high alcohol tolerance, according to every drummer I have ever interviewed for my book. Let's see. Carlito says, if Jacobs, this is a really good question because I actually don't think I know my answer yet. I think I do, but it's a really good question. If Josh Jacobs is healthy, should I start him or David Montgomery? Because we'll call him red hot. 2 weeks ago it was one run, right? But he played very well this past week. I thought he legitimately played well. It was an easy matchup against the Lions, but he has another one against Houston. So of course we're really strongly considering him. If Josh Jacobs is back and he doesn't have as friendly a matchup against the Colts, boy, I think I use Jacobs, but I haven't made the decision yet. I haven't looked at the running back ranks and if you look right now at harrisfootball.com, you'll see Jacobs isn't in there, which you probably have. And I haven't done the soul searching to figure out where he slots in exactly. I'd like to know what the Schefter, Jay Glazer, Ian Rappaport leak is that says, he's no constraints or there's some concern or whatever. Maybe that'll control where I put him a little bit. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. It's like, it's that eternal thing, like the superior player with the worst matchup and some exigent circumstance, and then the worst player with the better matchup and he's not hurt. Like It's tough. That is a tough call to make. And it may just come down to which one would piss you off more. I feel like what I'm doing when I'm managing my fantasy team is simply like managing my own emotions. Like, which one of these things would make me less upset? Let's just do that one. Maybe that's the wrong way to do it. I like this one. Wait, I missed it. Oh, darn it. Matt Conway, is Jacobs playing given your injury expertise? Clearly a podcast listener. I love it. Trevor says, what makes Nick Chubb your number one running back this week while facing the Baltimore defense? I mean, first of all, I'll say I'm not sold that the Baltimore defense is great. I am certainly not sold that they're great with Calais Campbell not playing a ton. I mean, he's back and Brandon Williams is back too. It's better, right? I've seen people run on him though. I saw Zeke run on him a little bit on Tuesday. And also Nick Chubb is fantastic. So I'm comfortable. If you say that's dumb, Harris, you should have him 5. Then I go, I doff my cap to you, sir. Still use him in your fantasy league. But I'm comfortable with Nick Chubb. He's great. Let's see. What do we got? If you have a single position question, I'll probably get to some more single position questions, but there are good questions here, not single. But if you're asking like this tight end or that tight end or that running back or that running back, honestly, I'm drinking on a Friday night with a robe on, with a weighted robe on. So probably you should check harrisfootball.com before you take my word for it, because I don't really remember my ranks all the way through. So just while we're doing this, just click over to harrisfootball.com, look up the tight end ranks, you'll have your answer. I like this question that I'm not going to answer, but Jordan knows I'm not going to answer, which is great. Jordan S. says, have you ever bumped into the Killers, Mr. Christopher Harris? Woo, I didn't do that. I love it. That gesture was not for Jordan, by the way. Not for Jordan. That was for the band. Nilla Thrilla says, hey, when are we going to get the Jeffersons show mixtape for Justin Jefferson? See, the thing is, that's beyond my control. I do not control the mixtapes. I love the idea. We're moving on up. Yes, for Justin Jefferson. We need it. Let's see. What do we got here? Ilya says, what do you think about Darnell Mooney as a prospect? I'm okay with him. There's just so many receivers. Like, it's fine to say, hey, that Darnell Mooney showed a little something in his rookie year. He's obviously really fast. I'm not, he didn't immediately become Tyreek Hill, but wasn't he as good as Henry Ruggs? And like, can't we see a future where he's a little more involved? Cool. I just feel like I said about 100 guys. There's so many young receivers, so many of them. Like, how do I judge him against KJ Hamler? Or, there's just so many. So for them to be like, for me to be excited about drafting them just feels like such a bridge too far until they really actually produce. And part of the really actually producing is the Bears showing that they have some kind of clue getting a quarterback and some kind of clue, and they're probably going to have a new coach. It's a long way between here and there, but I mean, would I rather be Darnell Mooney right now than N'Keal Harry in my life? You're damn right I would. Yeah. He's shown that he's really fast and can make a play down the field. And that's good. It applies to a lot of guys. So I don't want to get carried away, but it's good. It is good. Let's see. Liquid Momentum says, what's good to sip on when wearing a robe? Well, that would be an old fashioned. Here, I'll do a close up sip. I'm completely sober. That was pretty dumb. Let's see. Dave says, which player should own the nickname Dead Horse? They won't be a thing, so stop asking. How about N'Keal Harry? I don't know if that many people are asking, but he seems like Dead Horse. Tim says, do the Buccaneers win a playoff game? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say maybe they don't make it. I think tomorrow or Sunday is going to tell us a lot. I mean, I don't they're a touchdown-ish favorite against the Vikings, maybe 6. I think they'll win, but That feels like a team that's less than the sum of its parts. And that's about coaching, in my opinion. But for all the time that we heard for the first 2 months of the year about how Tampa might have the best defense in the league, to watch quarterbacks absolutely go ape bleep on them, just of the last 6 quarterbacks that have faced them, I think the only one who didn't have a good game was Teddy Bridgewater, and he got hurt in the second half. Everybody else has completely let them up. You can't run on them, but it feels like you sure can throw on them. I don't know. I in a normal circumstance, how much I trust Brady, but just feels like Brady is certainly to blame. I did a little speech on Thursday morning on the podcast. Brady has blame here. I don't care if you don't like the play call or if the play call doesn't necessarily suit your skill set or whatever. Still don't throw to a covered receiver. Still don't throw the interception. Like, you should not do that, right? But why, if you had the greatest precision passer in the history of the game who has proven that he still has an arm, are you still running the Jameis Winston offense? I do not know. I do not know. Sean says, do you have any thoughts on Jalen Hurts as a player, not necessarily for fantasy right away? I think he's better for fantasy than for real life. So what are the, I'm not a college scout. He's never really played in the NFL. So let's not palm myself off as someone who has developed this fully formed, highly researched opinion on Jalen Hurts as a prospect, because I just haven't. That's not me. I admit it. I defer very much to Matt Waldman. I defer very much to Brett Coleman, the guys who put in the hours. I don't put in the hours. But I know what they say about Jalen Hurts, which is really good athlete, probably not a NFL level thrower. Arm talent is fine as far as strength goes, but not really a reader of defenses in college and not really an accurate thrower. That's kind of that was the word on him. That was the book on him. I mean, should we be willing to suspend disbelief and just see how it goes? It was a tough first matchup. And I hate to think like the whole book gets written on Jalen Hurts because of how he does against the Saints. But I mean, let's see. I'm skeptical that he's an NFL quarterback, but if he is, over the course of the last month, it's going to open up a whole big can of worms. I mean, Carson Wentz carries the insane cap charge, $35 million cap hit or something if they cut him a day before or a day after the league year. Okay, that's insane. But what's more insane, paying him that and thinking that he can't play and you don't want him to start for you, or just getting rid of him and having a quarterback who's on his rookie contract, so you're essentially just paying star quarterback money for the guy who you want to see play for a year or two, and then Wentz goes to the Patriots or something. It's arguable. It is arguable. Let's see. So for the single position questions, I'm going to skip over them. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that you can go to harrisfootball.com and you can see my running back ranks and my quarterback ranks and my tight end ranks, and they're right there. And I don't really remember them off the top of my head. So you're asking single position, and I'm just probably not going to answer them. Joey says, how do you feel about Derrick Henry rest of the season? Is he beatable? I'll tell you what, he was beatable last week, but I mean, in my league, the monster team, it's a 16-teamer, one of the leagues I'm a commissioner of, that I'm playing this week because they got a bye last week and I had to play and I won last week. He has Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill. So he's the monster team of that league. He's crushing people. And he submitted a lineup during his bye last week, and I would have beaten him by 70 points. And so this week, Henry's going to go berserk against Jacksonville. And Henry has a pretty nice schedule the rest of the way. But if, he's beatable, because I just saw it. He is beatable. I'd like to have him. What do we got here? What do we have? A flex question from Pulse 487. J.K. Dobbins or Allen Robinson in standard? I don't think it's a bad question. And if you went Dobbins, I would understand it because I think you'd be shooting for the big upside and hoping. But it would be aspirational to set Allen Robinson for him, not knowing if the workload's going to increase. And 3 days ago, just having seen him not get the workload, feels like I would use Robinson, but I don't feel like it's stupid to ask the question for sure. Devin says, what are your thoughts on Justin Jefferson for the rest of the season? boy, I mean, it's 3 weeks is the rest of the season for fantasy, right? And I don't think I see a way other than injury that I am going to get him out of a lineup. How am I getting him out of the lineup? Like let's say he has one bad game this week. I'm going to go, that was one bad game. He had 100 good ones before it. Let's keep it going. Then he has another bad game. And I get to my finals despite it. And I go, well, what do I like here? Who do I have someone, maybe at that point I'm potentially, he's a terrific young prospect. He's been great. Like we're talking about Darnell Mooney. Like, well, Jefferson's done it. I don't have to project. Jefferson's done it and shown that at every level he can win short stuff, medium stuff, long stuff. So I think I'm probably just using them. That's what my thoughts are. Let's 245 people, my best friends here. You're all yacht possums, as am I. With the slick boat right here. Slick boat. But let's also talk about this robe, because the makers of this robe are sponsoring this live chat. Gravity blankets. You can't feel it because you're not me, but there are bean bags. There's like heavy weights right here, and it like presses down on you, and it hits pressure points in your neck and in your shoulders, and it actually relaxes you a little bit, and it's pretty cool. And in advance of the holidays, if you have a person you're looking for a gift and you know that they don't sleep great, then the weighted blanket, hold on. Oh, the gravity blanket is a great gift, and the gravity robe is a great gift, and we can get you 25% off. And they're sponsoring this little live chat, so it'd be great if someone actually bought one if they're interested. You don't have to, but if you wanted to, that'd be lovely. The robe, I don't think anybody else makes this robe. It's pretty kick-ass. It's like, it's on you, man. It's heavy. Not crazy heavy, but heavy. And it's scientifically, they did a sleep lab study where they actually proved that their weighted blanket and that their weighted robe actually helps people sleep better. It's really intended for people who have problems sleeping because it's a biological reaction. It's pressure points on your body that the weight of the blanket hits and makes, they say it's like swaddling. That's why babies like to be swaddled. Same biological reaction, pressure points. So take a look. We got gravityblankets.com. If you use the promo code HarrisTube, that'll tell them that we are the reason that you found them. And also you'll get 25% off. It's pretty cool. Rose says, what are you drinking? This would be an old fashioned that's almost gone, but I'll have another sip. Tis lovely. The waitlist says blankets, plural. That's right. gravityblankets.com. Indeed. Joey says, how much does the robe weigh? You can find out on the website, Joey. I would guess it's this part of the robe. The rest of it's light. The rest of it's a regular robe, but it's just in the collar that these beanbags are in. And, or I don't know if they're beanbags, but they feel like they are. 8 pounds, I'm going to guess. Actually, go to the website right now and look up the robe and tell me in the chat how close I was. 8 pounds is my guess. That might be wrong. That might be too much. I don't know. I'm not great. Let's see. Vijaya says, Booker or Duke Johnson, your hat is awesome. Well, you listen to the podcast, so you know that I have ranks for running backs on the website. At the moment, I'm sure that I have Booker higher than Duke Johnson, but that's because I haven't gotten Josh Jacobs back in the lineup yet. And it seems like it's trending that way. So when that happens, your decision is going to be made for you because you're not going to want to use Booker. If I'm not positive you're going to want to use Josh Jacobs, but I am positive you're not going to want to use Devonte Booker if Jacobs is active. I will say that. Let's see. What do we get? Ed says, is Kenny Golladay ever going to play? Yeah, it's a good question. No, I don't know. I have no more information than you do, but oh God, it is frustrating, right? I got him everywhere. It stinks. Lord Joseph says, if I use a gravity blanket at night, will I be able to get out of bed in the morning if I can't bench press more than Christian McCaffrey? It's not that heavy, but it's funny. Alex says, hey Chris, I love you. Alex, that's so nice. Thank you. Philip says the gravity blanket is available in 15, 20, or 25 pounds. That I knew. However, the robe, Paul says 23 robes equal 1 CMR. Yeah, the robe is less than 15 pounds. It's not 15 pounds. I know that much. Matt says, which rookie running back are you most excited to see develop for next year? So, I mean, James Robinson's been the best of them, right? But I think we're maybe maxing out on James Robinson. It'll be interesting. I mean, I've done now my top 12 very preliminarily for 2021, and no rookie running back made it. Robinson didn't make it. It feels like he would have been the only candidate, but I'm going to rule him out because I just don't think he's in the same talent area. I think we've seen what he can be. Dobbins. I'll say Dobbins. I think he's going to be a really good player, and we haven't got to see it yet. Like, we finally got to see Cam Akers, but I think Dobbins is a better prospect, to be honest. So I'll set my answer is Dobbins. Eugene says, I bet I'm your only viewer on the island of Puerto Rico. Well, there's 248 people in here, so if anyone else is in PR, let Eugene know that he's got company. Jordan says, do you think Josh will go to Spain with Stafford after the vaccine? Do I think it? I know it. I think Josh would go. I think probably Matt Stafford should stay away. Steve says 3-pound weighted wrap inside the collar helps harness the power of deep touch pressure stimulation to promote stress reduction. See that? 3 pounds. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I knew it wasn't 8. I knew it wasn't 8. All right, I think I may have said 8. 3 pounds, Joey says. Agreed. It's 3 pounds. I don't know the weights of things, but it feels like a lot on your neck. It feels like more than that, to be honest. It feels like more, but it's nice. It's nice. It's relaxing. Brett says, what is it that makes Justin Jefferson a monster? Do you think the Eagles drafting him instead of Jalen Reagor could have saved Wentz? So, Brett, I will say it's interesting that you mentioned that, because on draft night, I tweeted, oh my God, I can't believe the Eagles took Jalen Reagor. I would have taken Justin Jefferson 100 times out of 100. You can go back and look at my Twitter feed. Don't do that. It's boring, but you could, and you would find that that was true. But no, I mean, the truth is the Eagles are, beyond one player being a little bit better. Part of Reagor's problem is that he got hurt, right? We don't really know where he would be had he not gotten hurt. I'm going to try to be charitable a little bit to Reagor, even though I liked Jefferson much more as a prospect. No, the answer is yes, the Eagles should have taken Jefferson, but no, I don't think they'd be 8-8. I don't think they'd be a good team if they had, just the systemic problems there. The problem is, at base, the offensive line is a disaster. It's everybody's hurt, and Wentz is really just taking on the chin. And I don't think it's him much at all, to be honest. Tyler says not Puerto Rico, but Cape Breton. Stand up. Boom. Love it. Andy says, I've missed a few shows here and there, but noticed you're not doing flexual healing anymore. Any specific reason? Yeah, it's just that the season, at some point I stopped doing it. I do film futures instead of flexual healing because I feel like we know what all these players are. At some, like, 3/4 of the way through the fantasy regular season, I'm like, everybody's just asking about the same guys every week. And in the end, it comes down to, hey, is that guy going to play? And I don't know the answer. There comes a point where all summer I'll say situations don't matter. So stop. You don't know the situations, or they matter, but less, right? But when we get to week 10 or whatever, we all know the situations and they matter a lot, and we don't know what's going to happen. So basically every year on the podcast, I phase out flexual healing and I phase in film futures, or whatever it's called. Let's see. What do we got? Joey says, is Aaron Rodgers going to vulture Aaron Jones in the red zone again? If Jamie Eisenberg is right, then yes. If you heard that show, that was pretty funny on Monday. Dave says, was that Dallas game the best game Antonio Gibson will ever have? He could be good. He has a lot of athletic talent. He doesn't have a lot of running back talent yet. He's got a lot of athletic talent, and he hasn't been a running back for very long. So I'm not willing to close the door on Antonio Gibson. He's not a first-round pick. I know that because I've now done my top 12. But could he be a third-round pick? He could. And I don't think that's outrageous. I think he's got a lot of talent. Athletic talent. He needs to do more running back type stuff. D Sauce says, any worries about Mike Evans? Definitely. I mean, I don't think we know for sure that he's playing. So Let's see that. If he's active, it's going to be tough to get away from him. But for sure, there's a question about whether he's going to be active for sure. Kyle says, when are you going to start the Harris Football TikTok? Well, I need to hire somebody and they can just run that part of the business, which clearly will be a massive moneymaker. I understand that everybody on TikTok is a millionaire. Let's pick questions here. Anthony says, how high do you see Deandre Swift getting drafted next season? I think the last month of the season is going to matter a lot in answering that question. We're gonna need to see him take over, because if he doesn't, then there's always going to be the suspicion that he wasn't good enough to take over. But if he does, to some degree, these last 4 weeks take over, then I don't know, late second, early third, mid third ish, probably. But maybe not, because there's a lot of guys you could say that about. I mean, where's Dobbins going? Where's Jonathan Taylor going if he finishes strong? You could say there's a lot of guys that are in that neighborhood. One thing, Denny Carter notwithstanding, running back is going to be real popular. There's going to be a lot of very interesting running backs available in the second and third round that, Zeke Elliott might go in the second round and he could stink next year, or he could absolutely bounce back with Dak and be the steal of the draft. Cousin Josh had a great comment about that on the show today. Leagues might get decided by who your second round pick is more than your first round pick next year, because there's going to be so many big names who fall. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Swift goes a little later than that. But I don't hate the depth of drafts coming up, because there's a lot of young players who have a lot of potential, a lot of young skill guys who've come into the league. The question is going to be which one, because so many of them got hurt, so many of everybody got hurt, that there's going to be a lot of players we're interested in drafting, but not really know which ones to take. It's going to be tough, but I like Swift. I do. I like him. Let's see. What do we got? Kyle says that Saquon at 12 was shocking. I know. Cousin Josh was shocked. All I can say is, I just spent 6 hours this afternoon putting together video versions of 2 videos, basically 12 through 7 and 6 through 1, and showing film and talking about why, so that we can do it on YouTube form as well. And it's much more concentrated my thoughts. And I put Saquon at 12, and the history of ACLs is not a great history. Sometimes it's Adrian Peterson running for 2,000 yards, and sometimes it's Rashad Mendenhall never playing again. Sometimes guys come back and are great, and sometimes they're Dalvin Cook the next year. And he was really tough to watch the next year. Darius Geis the next year, So it is, you're taking your life in your hands by taking Saquon Barkley. But I might get convinced. I might get worn down. If everybody in the market is higher than me on Saquon Barkley, who am I as a human? What kind of, how could I have an identity? I've built the whole thing around Saquon. He listens to the podcast, for God's sake. That's one thing that I did not consider, is if Saquon really listens to the podcast, and let's face it, he doesn't. It's some person who works for him who listens, but bless them. But if he really does, and he heard that, well, he doesn't anymore. I just lost a listener. That was really dumb. Jordan says, can AJ Dillon be anything other than tree trunks for legs? I think I'm not ready to I was never really loving him as a prospect. I know that Matt Waldman liked him more than I did. I don't see a big mover. I think he's big and doesn't move real fast, but we haven't seen him yet. And I'll tell you, the real story for AJ Dillon is going to be told what happens with Aaron Jones's free agency. And part of that might come down to how far do they go in the playoffs? If they go win a Super Bowl, do they really let Aaron Jones walk? Maybe that makes it more likely or less likely. I think AJ Dillon was taken with the idea, oh boy, we're going to lose Aaron Jones in free agency, because he's unrestricted free agent as a non-first round pick. I don't know. AJ Dillon gets more attractive being Aaron Rodgers' big back. No question. Eddie Lacy had some fun years before he ate himself out of the league, but I personally like Aaron Jones quite a bit better talent-wise, but money-wise, giving guys second contracts at running back. Yeah. Brett says Denny will scream if RBs suddenly matter. I mean, the secret truth is that RBs always mattered. You just needed to get the right one. I mean, look at the first 2 rounds of ADP and tell me that the wide receivers worked out great. Well done. Well done, wide receivers. Yeah, not so much. Robert says, do Pauly Shore movies hold up? I don't think I've ever seen one, Robert. So yes, they do. Nilla says, only Encino Man. Joey says, hashtag free Aaron Jones. Ilya says, who's your favorite long snapper of all time? Are we really in long snapper territory? We still have 246 people watching and we have 240 likes. That's pretty good. It's a good ratio. You hear that? That was my jaw. My jaw cracked. I got TMJ. I got the TMJ. It's not the greatest. Are you talking Antonio Golden? Gandy Golden, rather? Ravi? I don't have a strong take on Gandy Golden, I would say. Ilias says, where do you think Allen Robinson will go in free agency? Is he unrestricted? I don't think I knew that. What's his deal? Let me look that up. I trust you, but I might as well not speculate until I 100% confirm. He is an unrestricted free agent. You're smarter than I am. You knew a fact, that's for sure. I haven't put a lot of thought into it. Somewhere with a good quarterback. Somewhere where Houston. Let's send him to Houston. It's funny when we finished the podcast yesterday, cousin Josh and I, we record on Thursday night I'm breaking the fourth wall by telling you, but we were speculating on Aaron Jones since we had talked about Aaron Jones in our top 12s for next year, but obviously with the massive contingency that we don't really know where he's going to be playing. And we started talking about places where he could go. And most of them were like Jacksonville, the Jets. And then we went Houston. Ooh, kind of interesting. Not a great offensive line, but a great quarterback. That would be okay. But Allen Robinson makes a ton of sense there too, right? I don't know. I mean, I like Aaron Jones. I don't think Aaron Jones is a transcendent enough player that I would be giving him $13 million a year guaranteed for 4 years. I think there's scant few running backs that I would be doing that for. I don't think Aaron Jones is one of them. Saquon Barkley's one of them. Christian McCaffrey's one of them. Christian McCaffrey, I have size questions, but he's great. He's a good player. I would, receivers are going to last through that second contract more frequently than running backs. I also think that argument is a little hackneyed by this point. It's a little overstated. It's all fake money. The cap is kind of crap. You can usually deal with it if you bust a receiver or if you bust a running back. It's a lot of money to have spent on somebody, but you have a lot of money. You're fine. I don't mind it. I don't think it's immediately dumb. There are obviously some people on Twitter knee jerk the moment you sign a running back to $10 million a year contract. They think you're an idiot. Just go find the next one. Just go find the next one. When the next one sometimes turns out to be David Montgomery, right? But I would say Jones isn't my first pick as someone I spend a ton of money on, even though I think he's a really, really good player. I think he's one notch down from that truly elite player. I took an Allen Robinson question and turned it into an Aaron Jones question because I'm that kind of smooth, but maybe Houston is my answer. That was a fun answer though. You have to admit it was a stupid answer, but it was a fun answer. Fun. Well done, me. Thoughts on James Robinson? Where was that question? Yeah, Jordan says that's a mighty TMJ. You're right. It is true. Master Samurai said thoughts on James Robinson. So I'll say to get the full, more organized thought process behind James Robinson, I did a Film Futures or whatever it's called segment on James Robinson a couple of weeks ago. So if you go to harrisfootball.com and go to the Film Futures thing, it'll point you to which episode that was in. And I would really advise you listening to that because it's 10 minutes of talking about having rewatched a lot of his film. But I am the person who did that, so I remember it. And my thoughts are slower Chris Carson, pretty good player, power back. He's fine. A lot of this incredible top 5 type season is based on the fact that you don't have a quarterback and nothing else is working, and you have a pretty good offensive line. So you're just giving it to this one dude so many times in all these different ways that probably a good team wouldn't be doing, that probably a good team would have a more diverse offense, would be more dangerous, would be less needing to run. So in other words, I think some of this is situational, but I think he's a really nice draft find because, slightly slower Chris Carson is a starting running back in the league. That's a good job. Well done. I don't think he's this. I don't think he's RB5 next year. If you get Trevor Lawrence or if you get, a real quarterback and now you're trying to have, a new coaching staff and you're trying to have like a modern offense and whatever, my sense is that Robinson will still be fine, but not crazy great. Let's see. Lee says, I traded for Philip Lindsay after you're watching your film breakdown. Any chance he can help me week 15 or 16? Other choices are for RB2 are Hines, Singletary, Ballage, and Patterson. I would probably play Hines. And if you go to harrisfootball.com, you'll see the ranks and you'll see Lindsay is going to be pretty far below Hines. I appreciate the kind words on the film breakdown. I think Lindsay's biggest problem is now he's gotten hurt twice. And I guess that's somewhat foreseeable given his size and the style. He runs like a power back and he's shaped like, a preteen high school player. Like he's just very small. He had the concussion after a really good first quarter. He had a concussion and then, was out, and then he had a knee injury and missed a game. So this first game back was pretty rough. Whereas Melvin Gordon did something on national TV, Lindsay pretty much didn't. I'm not going to blame the knee. I'm just going to say he didn't. I don't feel like I need to go back to him, to be honest. I don't think Carolina's like a hard matchup or anything, and he could be really good, but I think I prefer Hines. Having just seen, I'm going to have some vodka now. Having just seen the Jets run on the Raiders and a terrible Jets offensive line kind of pushed around the Raider defensive line makes me think, I think the Colts can do that. And I don't think that Jonathan Taylor has, at least to this point, proven that he's taken over the job. I mean, I talked about it on the podcast, but the workload in the first half was like 18 snaps Jonathan Taylor, 12 snaps Nyheim Hines, 10 snaps Jordan Wilkins. Like, I think they just ride the hot hand every week. I think there's a chance both Taylor and Hines are good this week, to be honest. I think that's how I am leaning. So yeah, I see a lot of single position questions, which I'm appreciative that you want my advice. But honestly, if you're asking like a team defense, Fred, or another team defense, I don't really remember the defense ranks. I spend time on them for sure, but then they sort of go out. I post them and then they go out of my head. So I would look at harrisfootball.com for any single position question. Lots of single position questions. Jackson says, is Julio Jones cooked or just an off weird Falcons suck year? I mean, what we'll say, Jackson, first of all, is that when Julio has been healthy, he's been awesome, right? He's been really, really good, dominant, had some fantastic games. And one of them was a game that he was questionable and he hadn't played he'd screwed us the week before, right? And he would questionable and he went crazy. It's a good question. Like, when he's been healthy, he's been terrific. But he has had a hamstring injury that he hasn't been able to get over. And is that related to age? Is that related to being 31 and next year 32? And once that starts to go, you'll have flashes, but you'll never be reliable. Boy, it's the kind of thing that I understand it if you just don't want to take the chance anymore. If you're just sort of like, I can find other really good players right around the same spot that I would have to take Julio Jones in the draft. And therefore, why am I going to sign up for that level of uncertainty from week to week? I absolutely get it. I didn't rank Julio in my top 12, so he's not a first round pick for me next year. But he's got lots of upside, and sometimes guys do. There have been plenty of age 32 seasons among receivers where the guys have been good all year and not gotten hurt. So it could happen again. I don't think he's cooked when he's healthy, but I don't know whether he can stay healthy. And honestly, that's not like a me saying he can't stay healthy. It's me not knowing. I really don't know whether he's going to stay healthy for sure. Dylan says, I watched the Dobbins breakdown. You said watch for safeties having to dive after they come set. I love learning those tidbits. Well, thank you, Dylan. You're very kind for saying so. Rashid is sure Julio is done. You could be right, Rashid. I can't get mad at you. Cannot get mad at you. The perfect gift says flexual healing, Chris Godwin or Mike Davis. That's a good one because no Christian McCaffrey. That is a good one. What would I say? I'd probably play Godwin, but I think it's a good question. I think Mike Davis has tons upside. We know he does, but he slowed down a little. And Mike Evans being, if Mike Evans were out, that would make it even easier. But I'm going to say Godwin. I think if it were me, I'd be mad if Godwin did nothing and Mike Davis went crazy. But I think I'd be madder if it was the other way around and I missed out. So I think I'd play Godwin. Harold says, should we be concerned about Kyler Murray in the playoffs? You can definitely be concerned. We go from league MVP talk to, wait, this guy stinks. You can be concerned. It's hard for me to imagine sitting him. I know he hasn't run very much, but I don't know why exactly. Could it be the shoulder? It could be, but I don't think anybody's really said that. And he looks okay throwing it, but he hasn't run. They haven't called that many run plays for him. I don't know. It's like for me as a fantasy owner, I can be worried and still be like, yeah, but I probably don't have a choice. I said it earlier when someone asked a Kyler Murray question. If I go all this way with Kyler Murray and get to a playoff game, and then I'm like, nope, I'm sure of it, he's done, and I sit him for Ryan Tannehill, and then he runs for 3 touchdowns, I'm going to be so mad I won't be able to stand it. But that's me, and you might feel differently, and that's fine. I don't think it's stupid to ask the question at all, because it's been rough. When he doesn't run, he's not that good of a thrower. Truth. Dean says, what round do you personally think Antonio Brown will realistically be drafted in next year? Woo! I mean, we got to get a team for him. Is he on the Bucs next year? Because if he doesn't do any better than he's done to this point, I think he's somewhere else, if anywhere. And he's on the other side of 30, and he hasn't looked the same. I don't know. Right now, I kind of don't think he's drafted. I kind of don't think he's very attractive. He doesn't look the same. I mean, he doesn't look fast. He looks faster than me. I'm slow. Like he looks not like himself. And he's really not bursting away from people the way he used to run a route. And just within the first 3 steps, he would be, 5 feet away from everybody because he was so quick. And that's not what we're seeing so far. But you could probably convince me that that's because he didn't have a training camp and because he didn't know if he was going to be playing. He was suspended and all that stuff. Okay. Like I won't be shocked if he turns it around, but I don't know. I'm not that into it right now, I would say. If you have running back questions, which someone does and keeps asking them, just go to harrisfootball.com and you will see my answer. What do we got? Or a tight end question, same thing. Rashid says, looking very astute with those Felix Grays. Catch you a nice, smart librarian with those. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a human being in 9 months. Other than that, I'm totally after the librarians. I see a wide receiver question from Lord Poirier. I would just ask you to go to harrisfootball.com and you'll see my list of wide receivers. TJ, is Nyheim Hines worth a shot? I think he is. I have him ranked pretty high, but I had kind of a debate with Jeff Erickson on my podcast about that, and he was a little less into Hines than I am. But I think I would. I mean, you can look at the ranks at Harris Football, and you can see where I have him ranked. Christopher says stress farts. That's all he says is stress farts. Yeah, obviously you can't smell it in here. I'm an hour and 20 minutes into a podcast wearing a robe. Stress farts everywhere. Wearing a Yacht Possums t-shirt. Of course, stress farts, obviously. John says, your gravity blanket robe is awesome. Dobbins or Devonte Parker? That's a good one, John. That's a closer one for me than the other Dobbins question. Do I have like a firm, strong feeling on it? I really don't. That feels like a tie. That feels like there's not really a right answer. And that's one for me personally, when I feel like there's not a right answer, Dobbins or Parker. Parker gets a little more attractive when Fitzpatrick plays because it's a little more reckless, let's say. Dobbins has more upside probably, but has such a bad floor. Can you, I'm going to ask you a question back, which is, can you ask yourself the question, who being on your bench going crazy would annoy you more? I think that's your answer. But I don't think there's really a right answer because I think they're in the right neighborhood. Jake says a flex question, Mostert or Ayuk? I wish I knew what the dang Niners are going to do as I drink more of my drink. I wish I knew what the dang Niners were going to do at running back because, man, it's been a split, right? It's frustrating. Mostert was supposed to come back and be the man, and Jeff Wilson is really taken half the work, and at times it's felt like more. There are whole series where you don't see Mostert. Boy. And you keep telling yourself, I keep telling myself anyway, cool, like at some point Mostert's going to be back in the swing of things and we're now going to get the full Mostert treatment. How long am I going to wait for that? I might play Ayuk, but I understand why you'd ask the question. Like, it's tough. Washington is also a really good defense, both pass rush and run defense. It's tough. It is a tough question. Seth says, librarian is right up your alley then, if I'm not seeing humans, you mean? Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't get to meet them because they're humans. I'm on lockdown, baby. Riley says, my question is about Josh Jacobs, but you don't have him ranked. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. It is leaning in that direction that he's going to play. I guess I'm waiting for that last little Schefter report that says, good to go, good to go. Here we go, Josh Jacobs. But you're right. I think if nothing changes between now and Sunday, he has to go in the ranks. Booker essentially comes out of the ranks. And the question is, where do you put him? Do you put him 7 where you'd normally have him, or do you worry? And that's such a hard thing to do. I mean, you could answer almost as well as I could. We all know that he's a top 10 running back if everything's fine. But every piece of information I do about whether he's healthy or not. And so what would you do? What would you, if you had to rank every running back, not knowing how healthy his ankle is, not knowing what the workload is, boy, it's tough. I don't think I'm going to put him 24. I think I'm higher than that, but you're asking people to take a chance with their fantasy playoff lives, knowing that it could go really well, but knowing also that you could get the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, screw you, it sucks. It just sucks not knowing what the workload would be. I don't think he can be exactly where he normally would be, but how far does he fall? I promise you I will change the ranks at some point if everything stays the way it is, and I haven't processed it exactly yet. Eugene says that Devonte Parker's in a shootout against Kansas City. I'm starting him. That's fine. It could be. Absolutely could be. Coyle says, was Deandre in contention for your 2021 top 12? So I think I had a big list and then a second big list, and then I got down to 12, and he was on the big list, which means good things for his future, but he didn't make the cut down to the 20 name person. He didn't make the cut. I do really like him. Catch the ball, Deontay, but I do really like him. I do. And I assume that Juju's going to be playing somewhere else. Claypool's very good too, but there's plenty of room for both of them. I like Deontay a lot. I do. Oops. Let's see here. Steve says, with Alexander Madison out, who would be the preferred handcuff? It's Mike Boone, but I don't really think there is one. I'm not sure I trust that anyone would be good if Dalvin Cook got hurt. It's a really good question because Dalvin Cook does get hurt, but yeah, I don't think there is one. I think we're just screwed. All we are is screwed if Cook gets hurt. What do we got? Oh, life's rich pageant reading. Man, oh man. Life's rich pageant. Truly. I'm not going to read them out loud, but wow. All I can say is wow. If you're asking a single position question, then just go to harrisfootball.com. I think you could probably figure it out. Nick says, who knows if Devonte Freeman ever comes back, but if he does, how might you see that backfield take shape with Gallman not being a disaster? I mean, the glib answer is, you know, everything that I do. I don't have any more information than you do. You're right, though. Gallman probably wouldn't go away entirely. It felt like when Devonte Freeman was the main guy, and with New York, his attraction was, well, chase volume. He's got so much work, right? And I think you'd say that's probably gone away because Gallman has been good, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Nasir says, is Hollywood Brown a drop? It's hard to give universal advice, but I couldn't really start him in good conscience right now. So if he's like your last wide receiver in a group of 5 or 6, and you're looking to maybe pick up a handcuff running back, or you're an extra defense or an extra quarterback, and you just don't see a circumstance where you can use him, I think it's fine, because it's hard without. He would need a massive blow up game like right now, and it's hard to see that coming. So I don't hate it. I don't hate that idea. Let's see. We'll finish off the drinky poo. Brett says, will Leonard Fournette even have a job next year? And then he gives us one of these. The face palm. He'll probably be on a team, but he's not going to make any money because I think he's been exposed. Many people who hate what I do, who like to get mad at me on Twitter, will, were all over me for my take on Leonard Fournette, that he wasn't good. And I think we've proven he's not good. He'll if he wants to be in the league, he'll probably be in the league, but he'll take $1 million. Kind of like he did this year. He took a short money deal this year. Christopher says, do you listen to Of Montreal? I don't regularly, but I remember having a CD of theirs when that was a thing, and I've seen them in concert, and they were really good. They're probably a little bit on the experimental side relative to the stuff I usually listen to, a little jazzy or whatever, but I think they're really good. I do like them. Brett says, do you muddle your own fruit or use a mix for the old-fashioned? Oh, it's the basic. It's simple syrup, whiskey, and bitters, and that's it. That's it. No muddling involved, I promise you. Jordan says, can I join the Cam Akers Sitters support group? There you go. A fantasy fan says, can we trust Mixon if he comes back during the playoffs? Never say never, but I mean, isn't it going to take, the first week he's back? I don't think he's coming back. Why would he come back? But he might, I guess. I don't know. It would be hard, but the moment he plays well, we'll all be ready to trust him again, because running back is such a poop show. But it's hard. It's a good question because it's hard. It is for sure hard. Seth says, I got to love Leonard Fournette's gravy boots. We all do. Leonard Fournette gravy boots. D-Sauce says, I accidentally sat Cam Akers, and it sucks. Nick says, the game that I had the hardest time picking on Bookmaker was Atlanta -2.5 over the Chargers. What were your thoughts? I wonder what I picked. Do I even remember? I think I picked the Chargers, but that is a hard one. I said this on the show that aired today. Like, I felt like there were a couple of games where I had the spread way off from where it wound up, and then everything else was within a half a point. And because I'll try to predict what the lines will be beforehand, what I think they should be, I guess. And I thought that one should have been like, I don't know, 2 or something, 1. So I don't feel strongly about it, but I think I picked the Chargers. I think I did. Andrew says, Deebo Samuel or Raheem Mostert? Flexually heal me. I don't think there's a right answer. I think I'd play Debo because I'm tired of the mess around with the running backs, but I understand what could go right for Mostert for sure. And I'll tell you, like I love the way they used Debo 2 weeks ago, and then I don't understand the way they used him against Buffalo. I would want them to get back to using them the way they did previously. That would be my goal, to have them use them a lot, get the ball in his hands, as it were. Can J.K. Dobbins also become his team's number one like Cam Akers? Can he, Julio? Sure. Will he? Only the Ravens coaching staff knows for sure. All right. I have this thing. A little robe guitar. Little robe guitar action. That's a C. Seth says Gaskin or McLaurin. I'd probably play. I don't think it's fair, but I'd probably play McLaurin. I just wouldn't want to miss out because I think he's really good, and I know it didn't go well last week. It didn't. I think it's arguable either way. I think I'd play McLaurin. Ali says, which player's song from your show gets stuck in your head most often? Probably Turkey Mayo. I'm out of tune. Shocking in my robe. Gravity blankets robe, by the way. Can I just mention? Let's tune this mother. Hey, yo. Let's tune this. Let's tune. I was like half a step up. Bo says, isn't it obvious that the Washington football team should be the Statesman? Yes, it is obvious. Well, I guess you left me with some feathers in my hand. Did it make it any easier to leave me where I stand? I guess there might not be too many who would stand beside you now. Where'd you come from? Where you going? Why'd you leave me till I'm only good for waiting for you? All my sins said that I would pay for it if I could. Anybody? Come back to you. All our innocence wasted on dead and dreaming. All right, the wait list. I see you over there. I sang you a song. That's like a Counting Crows song from 15 years ago or something. Coyle says no stairway. You guys are a little behind, I think. Britney Spears. Yeah. Counting Crows. Chris got it. Megan says, Mega Chicken Man, not Megan. Mega Chicken Man says, why didn't anybody tell me that Chris has some pipes? I know. Turns out. Durant says, I just walked in. Glad I glad to know I don't have to pay for the concert. Yeah. But I saw the numbers go down, though. I saw the numbers go down. Oh, they're precipitously dropping. We're at the part of the show where people stop listening or watching. Somebody said Britney Spears. There's that Britney Spears song. I've played that on the channel before, though, right? Oh, baby, baby, was I supposed to know something wasn't right there? Oh, pretty baby, couldn't have let you go. Now you're out of sight. Tell me how you want it to be, pretty baby, 'cause I need to know now, just because my loneliness is killing me, and I must confess, still believe, if I'm not with you, I choose my mind, me a sign, baby, one more time. Paula says, my daughter loves this. I'd rather have Jay Cutler, Eugene. I'd rather have Jay Cutler. I'd rather have Jay Cutler. That's like an Alex Smith diss track. Somebody said, what did somebody say? Hit me, baby, one more time for drafting Mixon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You've been hit enough, I think. I'm pretty sure you've suffered enough. What do I know how to play from? I'm trying to find an Eagles song. Somebody said Eagles. Probably everybody else be like, I hate Eagles, blah. How about just the mainstay? Well, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. Got 7 women on my mind. 4 that want to own me, 2 that want to stole me, 1 says he's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. Take it easy. Indeed, it was, in fact, Take It Easy. Hey, I do requests. I don't know that many songs, but, you know. Somebody wanted Petty? She's a good girl, love her mama, yes, and her boyfriend too. I'm a good girl, loves horses in America too. It goes on like that quite a long time. Seth says, have you already posted your top 12 for next year? If not, where can I find it? Well, if so, where can I find it? It was what you mean, I think. But we did it on today's podcast. So go to harrisfootball.com, download the podcast, look in the show notes. There they are, the top 12. Or you can wait, like I think later tonight, the first half will be posted on YouTube. And then probably tomorrow, the second half will be posted. So it's all coming out right now. Metallica, Chris says. Metallica. I think I know like the intro to one Metallica song. And I don't remember how to play it. Oh boy. Oh boy. So it goes, it's like this. That's wrong. That's all I got. That's what I got. Enter Sandman, exactly. I can't play that song, but I can play the little riff. That's impressive. You have to admit, really, you don't get a lot of fantasy people who know the opening riff to Enter Sandman. Yeah, that's one thing. I may suck in many other regards. I may be a failure as a human being. Possum Kingdom. I can play. One thing I can play for you is Toadies. I can definitely play Toadies. Let's see. It would go a little something like this. Make up your mind. Decide to walk with me around the lake tonight. Around the lake tonight by my side. And I think the riff is what? Wrong. There it is. I have no whammy bar. Whammy, 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 whammy. I'm not gonna lie. My blushing bright. My lover, be my lover. And then how does it go? I don't remember. Don't be afraid. I don't mean to scare you. So help me, Jesus. I'm not gonna know. Okay. You get it. You get it. Ilya says, how have you not learned Turkey Mayo on the guitar yet? Don't you know it's your job? Hey, Rashid, if you don't like it, guess what, buddy? Just go away. It's cool, man. We're not going to miss you. Sansket says, can you do the grass skirt chase from SpongeBob? Or is that only on the ukulele? I think it's probably only on the ukulele. I'm not familiar, I have to admit. Any other requests before we call this an evening? the guitar is sort of a regular thing in our regular chats. So, the regulars are all like, they have all their requests all lined up. Ilya says, Enter Sandman should be the theme song for every gravy-booted thickback. A fantasy fan says zombie. I assume you made the Cranberries, and I don't think I know how to play that. I think I do know how to play Seven Nation Army, however. And I certainly know how to play Sublime What I Got. So let's see what I can do about the White Stripe song. I have that somewhere. I'm getting texts. I'm getting texts from friends who are watching this, who are all making fun of me. What else did we get? We got that Seven Nation Army, Sublime, What I Got. I can do that one. How does that go? Early in the morning, Harris watches film, thinking about film futures or whatever it's called. Yeah, he knows your team sucks. See, Harris has your back. I'm singing the mixtape. Most people are like, huh? I think I know the solo from that, though. He can play the guitar like a mother bleeping riot. And it goes... I forgot. 7? Play some damn Killers already. All right, well, I mean, if you're insistent about it. Have I ever told you my Killer story before? Probably not going to tell you my Killer story now, but I could probably play a Killer song. Oops, that's wrong. But that's a funny song. I could play a funny song for you. I think the Killers require a capo, though. Coming out of my cage and I'll be doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Started out with a kiss, didn't look like this. It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's in the cab and she's taking a drink and he's taking a drag. And I'm going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now let me go. I just can't look, it's killing me and taking control. Jealousy turning taints into the sea, turning through a sick lullaby, joking on your alibi, but it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes. I'm Mr. Brightside. Wasn't Mr. Brightside trending on Twitter yesterday because somebody said everybody likes it, and then everyone went, no, we don't. I kind of like it. I think we're gonna wrap it up here soon. I hope you had fun. Paul Smith says the pride of Las Vegas. Indeed. If I liked them, I would be excited that I know one of their songs, but they were mean to me. Mr. Brightside is an anthem in the UK, says Chris. Indeed. I mean, if you have more requests, but do closing time. I think I know closing time. Did I ever save? I don't know if I ever saved closing time. Sometimes I need a little push on the chords. Not a hard song to play. I think we could probably figure that one out. My glasses are a little sweaty. All right. So closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time. Turn off all the lights. Oh, every boy and every girl. Closing time. One last call for alcohol. Go finish your whiskey or beer. Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want. Probably a good way to end it. Probably a good way to end it. No Eddie money, Paul says. Melonhead says the lighter is lit. All I was really looking for was somebody with a lit lighter. I'm surprised we don't have a lit lighter emoji. All right, kids. This was fun. Thank you for being here. It was a blast. I hope you win your playoff games this weekend. And remember, if you want to give something back to the show, get a robe for somebody, get a gravity blanket for somebody, gravityblankets.com. Use the promo code HarrisTube. You'll get 25% off. A really smart gift for anybody who is in the insomniac side of the things, because it does really help with sleep, pressure points, and that sort of thing. Gravityblankets.com. Well done. And it was fun. Thank you very much. You're all very cool. Most of you are very cool. A few of you aren't, but that's all right. That's the truth with any group. Most people are very, very cool. We'll take it easy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.